Do you think this is Marco Estrada's last start in a Blue Jays uniform?
I think it's possible. I mean, as you said, he's not pitching very well, and the better he pitches, the more likely it is he gets traded. The other thing is he could also get traded in August. We talk a lot, and rightly so, about the non-waiver trading deadline, July 31st. But if a player goes unclaimed after July 31st, he can still get traded then. So I'm not sure it's Estrada's last start because, he hasn't been good enough. Like Liriano had a pretty good one a couple of days ago.
Right.
If Liriano has one more good one 3 days from now, maybe that's enough for somebody to take a chance on him. But I think Estrada might need to string 2 or 3 of them together, so he still could be traded in August. But,
right.
As great as he's been for the Blue Jays and as big a fan favorite as he has been, and deservedly so, given the team situation, given his contract and his impending free agency, it makes sense for the Blue Jays to try to trade him if they can get anything of value back.
Yeah, and, I don't – I mean, I'm just looking at Marco's numbers since the start of the year, and you kind of expected, at least I kind of expected a little bit of a fall off, but I didn't expect the total lack of effectiveness, that we're seeing from Marco. I mean, it's just he's not effective.
He started off pretty well. I mean, to me, it's more so the last 8-9 starts.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, and you talked about taking on a project and that sort of thing, and I think the only thing I would put in there, like when the Blue Jays got Liriano last year, his numbers were much better in Toronto than they were in Pittsburgh. When Pittsburgh got Jay Happ 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I guess. Remember, that's when Happ's career turned around, when he went to Pittsburgh from Seattle in the middle of a season. And sometimes it's just a change of scenery, a fresh voice, a new pitching coach. Who knows what it could be? So, like a team like the Dodgers or the Astros or the Nationals, they know they're going to make the playoffs. So if they're going to go get a guy, they're going to go get a guy, in my opinion, who they can really count on in the playoffs. Like, the Dodgers with Kershaw out, maybe they say, we're all in on you, Darvish. Or maybe Washington says we want Sonny Gray because we don't know what Strasburg's deal is. I think Marco is more the kind of guy, given the way he has struggled recently, that a team that's, say, having trouble in the 5th spot in the rotation, they've got injuries or a rookie or something like that, they say, you know what? Let's take a chance on this guy. We think he can be better in that spot of the rotation than somebody that we have right now. So I think there will be interest in him. I just think it might take until August, assuming he starts pitching better.
No, that is a great point, and we have seen a lot of deals made in August. And as you say, if Marco strings 3 or 4 starts together, and the value,
whole different story.
It's a whole different story completely.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too that Ross Atkins mentioned this the other day. I mean, one of the side benefits of Francisco Liriano, and I know the Jays talked about this when they got him, is that with that slider and fastball, if you can't use him in the rotation, maybe he can help you out of the bullpen, although we all know his command's not very good. But at least that option is there, right? At least that option is there, and that might make him a little more valuable or a little more attractive to a team.
Yeah. I think if you told me only one of them was going to get traded, I might say I think it's going to be Liriano. But it could be both of them. It could be neither one of them. So, the Blue Jays are in a difficult spot. Like, as bad as some other teams are, they've got guys at the end of their contracts performing well who other teams would be interested in. And for there to be a lot of interest in Estrada and Liriano, they've got to pitch closer to their capabilities, which I think they're both perfectly capable of doing. And Liriano was better his last time out. But, I don't think Blue Jay fans should hold out hope of getting an A-level prospect back. It doesn't work that way. I mean, teams are very protective of their top prospects, and the top prospects are going to go to get guys like Sonny Gray or Yu Darvish, those types of players. And even more than Estrada and Liriano, if you said to me, pick one guy on the roster who's going to get traded, I would say Joe Smith. Because Joe Smith is, assuming he's come off the DL, he pitched last night, we saw it. Assuming he's fine and he has another, and he certainly appears to be fine, he's a veteran guy, and I think a team could get him for a mid-level prospect. So if I had to pick one guy to be traded before Monday, I think I would pick Joe Smith.
Yeah, and of course we've also seen this year teams have sort of packaged pitchers together, and it's almost been like one-stop shopping in a lot of cases. But I don't know. I mean, I guess you could put together a package of Smith and Estrada, or sorry, Smith and Liriano, or Smith and Estrada.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, you could. And the other question is a team willing to take on all the money? So
Yeah.
I think Marco makes $13 million this year, I believe. So
Yep.
let's say he's got $5 million of that still coming to him over the rest of the season. So a team might say to the Blue Jays, okay, we'll take on that whole $5 million, but we're going to give you a D-level prospect. And the Blue Jays might say, well, we'd rather a better prospect, so we'll pay you $2.5 of that $5 million.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, there's a lot of moving pieces. Even what appears to be a pretty simple deal on the surface, the money's got to work out too. But you're right, packaging a starter and Joe Smith together could work out. I mean, there are other guys they could trade too. That some might shock us, and some might only, we might raise an eyebrow a little bit, but. I agree. Brunt said yesterday, I don't know if it was on Sportsnet or the Fan, I saw it on Sportsnet Central this morning. They just had the soundbite saying, he doesn't think it's the best course of action is to set fire to the whole thing and completely start over. And I would agree with that. I mean, they've had some guys who have had off years. They know some help is coming in the farm system. And I just think, they've got too much talent and too many fans to just completely start over. And I don't know how they completely start over. Like guys like Martin and Tulowitzki have multiple years left on their contract. That makes it harder to completely start over. So I think you'll see 2 or 3 moves this season. Some contracts will expire in the off season, but I don't think it's going to be a brand new team next year.